All right, you ready to do this, Cameron?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Do you regret saying always be Cam so many times?
You have a guy who's basically like a sex addict.
Do you still feel the same way after seeing what they actually blurred out?
The way that it came off as a viewer was maybe a little bit creepy. You know we gotta talk about the pity rose.
One DM I got. Oh, Peter, you picked the one structure I have tattooed to fornicate in. Could you not have done it in like a porta potty or something else?
Oh my word.
ABC Cam is here with us and we couldn't be more excited. How you doing today, bud?
I am doing really well. Excited to chat with you ladies.
So just jumping right into it. So what was casting like for you for Bachelorette?
I didn't send in an application. I didn't go to an open casting call. I actually had a friend nominate me. I was single for about 9 months. Didn't really do any of the dating apps. That's just kind of overwhelming to me. And I'm kind of old school. I like meeting people in an authentic way, whether being set up through friends or at, party or bar, etc.
Or on TV.
Or on TV, yeah. So when I had my friend nominate me, I just kind of was like, okay, we'll see if this happens. And lo and behold, I got the call, and the rest is history.
You know we gotta talk about the pity rose.
Yeah.
From the moment this all started happening, we called it out in our recap as like, no, he didn't say that. Mike is making this up. Let's talk about that a little bit. How do you feel about how everything went down?
That was probably the most disheartening thing in my experience on The Bachelorette, because after Chris Harrison basically announced, hey, there's no cocktail party, we're going to do a tailgate. So like, if you have something you need to say to Hannah, make sure you make the time to do that. So I was like, okay, I need to tell Hannah now, because having a lifelong chronic condition, you have to be transparent with someone, especially if they're going to be your future spouse, because this isn't going away. So I was like, I owe it to Hannah, I owe it to myself, and I even owe it to you guys just to tell her this. I said, I promise I'll be quick. So if I could just have some uninterrupted time with her, I'll feel a lot better about addressing the elephant. And everyone seemed pretty cool about it. No one like came up and said, dude, what the hell? Like, no, you can't do that. So when I had the initial conversation with Hannah, it went really well. She was very accepting of it. And when Hannah pulled me back after our first conversation, essentially, I guess she had talked to Mike, and Mike had mentioned the whole pity rose thing. I was like, my reaction was true. Like, I was so caught off guard, because it's like, Hannah, we just had a conversation and everything was amazing. Like, why are you throwing this in my face? Like, why is this narrative being held against me? That was literally the first time in my 17 plus years of being a lymphedema patient that I've had someone kind of make me feel guilty for it. And I'm not saying that Hannah made me feel guilty, but like the fact that Mike told her that I was going to tell her this to get a pity rose, which I was like, why would anybody who's dating anybody want to be pitied by their partner? Like, to me, that's not an aphrodisiac. That's not sexy. I mean, sympathy and empathy are one thing, but to be pitied, for the life of me, I could not understand why that happened. And I honestly didn't even have a rebuttal, because I was so turned off, because it never happened before. And my gut and my heart, I was like, okay, well, clearly Hannah doesn't believe me, so I'm probably going home tonight.
That was a bunch of bullshit, if you ask me.
Anyway.
It is what it is. I was taking the process so serious. Like, for starters, I didn't have a girlfriend going into the show.
Yeah.
At the time, she just had to follow her heart. And at that point in time, she had a stronger connection with Mike. So she felt that she had to kind of take his word over mine.
Well, speaking of Mike, I know that he kind of has a big following. Do you think he would have made a good bachelor?
I do. Mike he's had some very serious relationships. He had that unfortunate situation with his serious girlfriend with a miscarriage. He's ex-military. He's financially established. He has a good family support system. So I think he does check all of those boxes.
Did Mike's character leave a bit of a bad taste in your mouth, though? I mean, do you think his character is up to the standard of The Bachelor?
I mean, every bachelor's been different. I mean, it's kind of apples to oranges. It's like saying, can you compare Nick Viall to Colton Underwood? You have a guy who's basically like a sex addict versus someone who was a virgin going into it, right? So I think it just comes down to whoever's going to make the best television, and whoever in the eyes of the network is legitimately ready for love.
Well, what do you think of Peter as Bachelor?
He's a really sweet guy. He was always nice to me. I don't know a lot about his backstory other than what I saw on Hannah, but I guess my response is like, do you like vanilla ice cream? And most people are like, yeah, vanilla is great. It checks a lot of boxes. It will satisfy that hunger, that sweet tooth. I just don't know enough depth of Peter to know how he would actually be as a husband, as a spouse, and as a father. But I think he does have a lot of the tangibles. Great job, great family. He made it really far with Hannah, so he proves he can handle himself on camera well. And I think he's going to do a great job. I really do.
Well, and his new name is For Pete because of the windmill.
Yeah. Well, on that topic, so my grandma is who I call Dutchie. She passed away many years ago, and I was really close to her. And this never aired on The Bachelorette, but I actually have a windmill tattoo that I've had for many, many years. So when I was on Paradise and there was some couple freeze frames, people were like questioning if I got that because of Hannah and Peter. Like
oh my God. Oh, that's like you just loved the four.
Oh, Peter, you picked the one structure I have tattooed to fornicate in. Could you not have done it in like a porta potty or something else? But it is what it is.
I love that you just said fornicate.
Oh, fornicate. See, that's
fornicate. Got it.
Yeah, nice.
We interviewed a former producer from the show, and she said that typically the personalities of the contestants are real, but they're on steroids. Do you find that to be the case for you, like true for you?
I'm a very diverse individual in that I'm not afraid to be an introvert or an extrovert, but I'm mostly extroverted. And so prime example, like crashing the group date, literally the night before in the mansion when Hannah was talking to all the guys, she said she's looking for a bold man. And at that point in time, I hadn't been on a one-on-one or a group date yet. And yeah, I had gotten the first rose, but that confidence only lasts so long when you're just sitting there at the mansion all day. You don't have your phones. You can't talk to your friends or family who you would normally console with relationship advice. So you do get a little bit stir crazy. Some call it Stockholm Syndrome. And I just wanted to show her a quick romantic gesture. What woman doesn't want a man to bring her flowers? And I understand looking back now how that may have rubbed guys the wrong way. But again, the synopsis of the show is to find your person, not to make a bunch of guy friends. I have great guy friends here in Texas. So I think I even had a comment like, nobody else's toes matter. And that's true. So if you're asking if I would do that again, absolutely, I would crash the date. If it meant trying to show the person whose heart I was trying to win over that I'm here for you and only you.
Well, see, how you explain it now seems so romantic and so sweet, but the way that it came off as a viewer was maybe a little bit creepy. So do you feel like editing is responsible for that?
I mean, the viewers are going to make their own opinions either way. But I mean, if I say I love you and you have the Jaws underscore playing, that could be creepy. But if I say I love you the same way and you hear the most romantic, piano playing, you may perceive it differently.
We have seen a lot of people obviously have to navigate haters in this world. You've done it in such a graceful way. And, even us in reviewing the show have been not so kind to you, especially in, during The Bachelorette, because what we do is we joke around, we make fun of people. Yeah. And you have been our target before. But graciously and gracefully, you then found us on social media and said, you guys seem really fun. I'd like to have some wine and cheese with you, And it was just such a nice way of dealing with that. What's been the harshest criticism you've gotten, and how do you deal with that?
One, it wasn't so much harsh, but it was kind of, I've gotten death threats on my DMs, and I think a lot of contestants have, even the most loved ones. But I just have to think, okay, this person's just lonely in their parents' basement, most likely. But one DM I got, it was like 37 middle finger emojis, and that's all it was. Just like a bunch. And I'm thinking in my mind, this person took time out of his or her day to send a person who they don't even know just a bunch of middle fingers, right?
You did want to go to my birthday dinner the week before where all the cast was there. You asked to come.
Onyeka called me out on the reunion for saying, well, you were going to come to my birthday party in LA and there were a bunch of cast members there. And if Kaylin said she wanted to meet you, you'd be on that plane just like that. Maybe, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. And I didn't go to that birthday party. I stayed in Texas, and I felt that kind of unnecessary that she needed to throw shade on me because I have dirt on her that I'm not going to spill right now. But it's like, really, I thought we were friends, and there was no place for you to say that I'm hypocritical about not meeting people ahead of time.
How dare you say that you have something on Onyeka and you're not going to tell us right now?
No, I'm the bigger person. Like, that's not for me to throw shade on someone like that.
Yeah, no, I thought that was totally rude too. We even said that in our recap too. We were like, what in the world?
I mean, call me out if I actually showed up and met these girls, but I didn't. And someone who I was really infatuated with ahead of time was Kaylin. And I think it would have been a different experience if I had met her in LA at Onyeka's birthday and then met her on the beach. Like, to me, I just wouldn't feel authentic and organic. I would be hypocritical to say that I didn't reach out to past cast members, and I did. I reached out to 3. I reached out to Tanner, to Goose, and to Evan. And what those 3 men have in common is that they found their people in Paradise, and they weren't sliding into their DMs. They weren't meeting. The first time they met was on the beach.
Well, did it take any convincing from anyone, maybe the guys that you reached out to go back and to sort of re-expose yourself to an audience?
I mean, that was the commonality that I got from all 3 of those guys. They said, yeah, man, like we were kind of seen as the quote unquote villain or not fan favorites on our respective seasons of The Bachelorette, and Paradise is a completely different environment. You have a lot more one-on-one time with a lot of different girls. So it's almost kind of like dating musical chairs, but like when you find your person out there, it's very easy to establish feelings quickly because you can have breakfast with her every day. Like if you want to go to the boom boom room, you don't have to wait for fantasy suites. Like you can do all those things like you would in a typical normal relationship. I experienced that the very first day when I was on the beach. I had like 6 or 7 hour plus long conversations with multiple women, and it was more than my entirety that I got with Hannah on The Bachelorette.
I think overall, I'm just going to kind of speak for the entirety of Bachelor Nation. You come off as the nicest guy, but a little mopey on the beach, Cam. A little mopey, a little sad. Is that a result of editing? Like you mentioned the music that they played. What do you think about that? Did they make you appear more depressed than reality?
Well, if you're following somebody, I don't want to say 24 hours, but a vast majority of the day, I'm a human being. My emotions have ups and downs. I'm not a Debbie Downer all the time, but I was obviously disheartened when Kaylin basically told me that she didn't want to pursue the relationship with me. And I kind of, at that point in time, had all my eggs in her basket and was hoping for something to come to fruition between her and I. And because we did have such a great conversation and a connection. Looking back now, that was right before Rose ceremony. We'll get into that later. So I don't have any regrets for the way I conducted myself, and shame on me for going to the beach trying to find someone. Shame on me for doing what the show was originally intended to, and it's to find real love. So again, take what you see on screen as you may. It's open to creative interpretation, and that's really all I'll say about editing.
You just said that you don't regret, you don't have regrets. Do you regret saying always be Cam so many times and on The Bachelorette?
More or less. I mean, I know it's ridiculous. Cam rarely speaks in third person, so I'm kidding. Like, I'm very sarcastic, and that's what I love is when people don't know that I'm being sarcastic. And most of the things I said was very much rooted in sarcasm. But I get from a marketing perspective why they would want me to say it as much as I did, because if it was on CBS or NBC, it wouldn't have the brand equity that being on ABC Network did. So, and like just now being out in public, everyone's like, oh, you're ABC Cam. So that's something I'm just going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. But there's worse things to be known for, I suppose.
We noticed as we were recapping that they blurred your shirt out, and we didn't know at the time what they were actually blurring out. Then we saw the next day you posted something on social media about that. Do you still feel the same way after seeing what they actually blurred out?
I was disappointed that no conversations that I had with fellow contestants and Hannah about my lymphedema ever aired. Because that's my platform. That's something that makes me who I am. And it perpetuates this national and global narrative that people don't know about lymphedema because they just haven't even heard about it.
And it did bring awareness, I think, but you still don't feel like they were editing out your condition, right? Because they didn't blur lymphedema, they blurred Google. Like they didn't
which they don't have to blur out Google, because Google's now in Webster's dictionary. It's actually a noun and a verb.
Oh.
So whatever, like it is what it is. I can't fight the powers that be. It's not really my place.
All right, we're gonna do a little rapid fire questions here right before we wrap this up. Okay. On Paradise, is there a drink limit for each contestant?
Yes. That's for all of them, and it's just for I can't say how many, but it's a very safe amount. They don't want another incident that happened a couple of paradises ago.
Oh, yeah.
So the network does have our safety in the best interest, and it's also so very hot out there. The humidity's terrible, so you don't want to just be hydrating with tequila all day. That's just not safe for anybody.
Boom Boom Room. Is there a sign-up sheet?
I wouldn't know. I've never been to one.
Is it just widely known that the Boom Boom Room is the Boom Boom Room? Is that what everybody calls it when you're there?
Yeah. I think it's first come, first serve, pun intended.
How much is Wells really at the bar during the day or the evening?
He's there a good amount. We really don't start drinking till later in the afternoon, and he gets there around that time. I mean, he's not there the whole time, but he's there a vast majority of the time, and I love Wells.
All right, so in 2002, you were diagnosed with lymphedema. As you know, because of the shirt that you wore that said Google it, many people don't know what it is. Will you just give us a brief sort of schooling here on what is lymphedema?
So high level, we have our lymphatic system, and the easiest way to describe it to someone is if you've ever played sports or just like rolled your ankle or sprained your ankle and you have a lot of swelling, that swelling is an accumulation of lymphatic fluid. So if that lymph fluid is not moving properly, then you're going to have chronic swelling. And because that lymphatic fluid is very rich in protein, but also moves waste material, if it grows stagnant, you can have a lot of bouts of infection. So it's basically directly correlated to your immune system. So for me, I had basically an anomaly where in my abdominal region, my lymphatic vessels are kind of tangled up almost like a garden hose. So when that lymphatic fluid's trying to drain upwards and empty out here like a normal person's does, it's basically backflowing into my knee, which has resulted in several episodes of infection. And I've had 13 surgeries in a course of 4 years and almost lost my leg. Because it's chronic, you have to deal with it every day. There's a whole treatment protocol for patients. A lot of it's based on wearing compression garments and compression pumps, which now I work for a company that sells the compression pumps. So I'm really excited.
That's great. I was stalking your Instagram. You lost 50 pounds before you even went on The Bachelorette, correct?
I did, yeah. Well, specifically, before going on The Bachelorette, I lost about 20 pounds. Where I really lost that 50 pound is when I was getting ready for Paradise. Because Paradise, they're pretty much shirtless most of the time. And you have a lot of guys there, like someone like Clay Harbor, who's an ex-NFL football player. And some of the other guys are just really ripped. I didn't want to be the guy on the beach with the dad bod, which looking back, I probably should have just embraced that, because that's like, I think from everybody, from the guys' perspectives, for someone who was like most ready to actually be a father, I feel very strongly that I was that guy. So I should have just embraced it.
You didn't find love, but we want to make sure that you do. So what's your plan for a relationship?
So it's very tricky being back in the real world after having been on national television. I mean, obviously, I don't want to do any of the dating apps, because when I did that for like 1 week, I'd say 80 to 90% of the questions were just them sending the ABC emoji question mark, like asking if it was really me. Because in my bio, I don't mention the show at all. I just talk about my life, things I'm looking for in a partner. But that just kind of comes with the territory. There's no avoiding it. So honestly, I think the woman that's probably going to be my spouse is probably someone who's either never seen the show or like just didn't even really care and is unaffected by it. Because it is tough, like going out now to bars and parties with my best friends in Austin, it's different. Especially if there's like a bachelorette party there. I mean, just getting swarmed and mobbed by 20 girls who want to take the selfies. And then I don't mind doing it because the fans are great.
But I bet your buddies love it.
Oh, they do. Don't get me wrong. It's been fun. But I just turned 31 last weekend. So I'm like so ready to settle down and find my person, find my best friend, and have a couple kiddos.
Were you and Kirpa a thing? Was that ever real?
No. So Kirpa and I are just really good friends. Her and Alex, who is also from Colton Season, they came down and visited me along with Matt Donald in Austin for my birthday, and they were doing some work stuff down there too. So it all worked out. We all had a great time. But the other thing too, she lives in LA. I mean, maybe if we both lived in the same city, we could potentially do it, because we have such good friendship chemistry, which I think is a very important foundation for a relationship. But neither of us are in a position right now to do long distance, and my love language is physical touch, and distance makes that very hard. So won't even begin to try to explore that with people.
But the fact that you know your love language shows me that you are a very evolved man.
Well, beyond knowing your own, I think it's equally as important to know your partner's, because I can't assume that my future girlfriend, hers is physical touch too. She may be words of affirmation. So I can't have the expectation that her love language is the exact same with mine. So having that conversation of like just knowing where each other is, I think is very important to establish like a healthy relationship.
Good, Cam. I see a relationship in your very near future.
I hope so. Y'all are coming to the wedding.